people in the United States at the time what they thought of that man, and he's golden, right? He's protecting the American way. Stay out of his way. He will shoot you. That kind of attitude. You look at the context of the way we look at people in society today, there are definite differences that take a long time, and most people wouldn't be patient in that discussion. But it's worth looking at the differential between 1940s versus 2020s. Big difference.
And I'm Southern. We're supposed to dress right.
I thought there was a Southern accent in there somewhere.
When I retired out of the Air Force, I got a job as a GS-11 down at Mountain Home in charge of their logistics, and I dressed like that. Except I had dress pants instead of jeans.
My dress pants are dirty today, so I had to go with the jeans. I don't want to wear them.
You knew somebody was going to call you.
I knew it. I was like, I feel it.
You notice he mentioned something here that I think you might look up. GS-11, right? My mom retired GS-12. Dad retired GS-11. It's a government pay status.
Yeah. It's about the same pay grade as a captain GS-11 is now. If I'd had a GS-12, I'd have had a...
That's about a colonel, isn't it?
What?
GS-12's...
12's a major.
Is it a major?
13's a lieutenant colonel. Yeah, now if I'd had a GS-13 position, I'd have always been in the coat. And if I'd have been a 12, I'd have just had a coat on when I went to the Wing King's office. Yeah. But as it stood, I used to always wear a tie, a nice shirt, slacks, and dress shoes. And they always could tell what kind of mood I was in by the color of my shirt or my tie. Like if we were gonna have had to have a meeting, because I was responsible for everything but had no authority over anything. And I
That's
was the
typical.
Scapegoat. Yeah, and I was the scapegoat. So if I knew I was gonna have one of those meetings, I was drinking.
Yeah. May I?
I would prefer not, actually.
Oh, okay.
What are you gonna do with it?
And,
I'll probably put it on YouTube sometime.
And
what's
people
your
always be
handle?
like, you don't want that.
Astroponicist.
And I was like, no, how could you tell?
Okay,
Because
I'm
you're
getting
wearing
the
pink. And I was like,
botanist,
that's because it's kind of hard to
science
read your temper
aspect.
when you're wearing a pink shirt. It just
What's
looks
your
stupid.
specialty?
Or a flowery tie.
I would talk about that if you let me film the conversation.
Then I'll Google you and find out. Maybe we'll cross paths again.
It may happen.
Fly Boys is a good book. It's about Chichijima, and it talks about
I'm not trying to divide the conversation either.
If
How
you don't want
build
to
it
be on,
up.
don't be on. I get it.
how everything built up from World War I to World War II, the Japanese side of things. Yeah, I read that book. It took me 2 years to read the book, not because I can't read or it was small print, but because of the content. And I finished it in Guam, which is where the trial for that colonel in charge, Japanese colonel, in charge of Chichijima Island, his court-martial, his trial and everything was on Guam, and they hung him on Guam. So it was interesting, finishing up there. That picture, that famous picture of George Herbert Walker Bush getting pulled out to drink, stepping on the submarine, you probably just think realize it. You know, next time you stumble across it, because you stumble across it every now and then, you'll be, oh, okay. That was the last pilot to escape Chichijima alive.
The guy that you're talking about that got court-martialed for war crimes,
Yeah, the colonel from Chichijima.
Was that the Long March stuff, or what was that?
Bataan.
That was the Bataan Death March?
Bataan Death March.
That's what I meant by saying Long March.
Chichijima was an island, very small island out in the Pacific that had a decent sized mountain on it, and they had a huge radar
Installation, yeah.
thing. Not radar, but radio type deal, and the Japanese could pretty much figure out everything.
I didn't
going
think
on
the
around that
Japanese had perfected radar yet.
No,
The
it
Germans
wasn't
were
radar.
working on it. We were working on
It
it.
was radio.
And the Germans were allies with Japan and Russia, but didn't necessarily mean they were essentially friends.
Yeah, it was radio stuff, and we launched all kinds of strikes to take that radio tower down and that radio array set up. And we couldn't do it.
That's typical when you look at high value assets, is they'll make it expensive to take.
You spend $1 million to take out a freaking Toyota pickup truck in the desert.
If that Toyota pickup truck is carrying somebody really important, then
50 cal.
then it is incredibly it's going to be expensive. If your opponent is a good manager, they will make it expensive to keep you from destroying even something inexpensive if it has high tactical value. Because actual paper economics means jack. Lives even don't mean as much. But what gives you decision-making capability, action-making capability. If you can attack something of the opponent that takes away their ability to act in a given way, and you think that that improves your tactical position, it is worth a tremendous amount, regardless of the materials or lives involved. And that's a nature of war that is really, really tough to emotionally or psychologically look at, because when war comes around, feelings don't matter.
Oh yeah.
And the the dollar value, market value of an asset doesn't mean shit. They will blow up a museum before letting, say, the Nazis set up an office in there and direct military battles. They'll just blow it to shit.
It doesn't matter what it is, where it is, just
A famous church,
We've always tried not. The American military has always tried not.
and the American military is very good about that.
Yeah,
But
we've always
opponents
tried not to.
will do
Opponents
what the
will do
opponents will do.
anything. Yeah.
And if
They'll
you
do
look
it.
at smaller wars that America has dealt with, especially in the Middle East and stuff, you'll see some of these leaders, they will put a management center right in the middle of a school district.
Yep. But then we
And
got awesome bombs. We just,
because it works. It makes it harder and more expensive for those missiles are not cheap.
oh no. they're-
I've studied a lot of the PDF files on the material science of all their components and all the tech for all of that, because I'm interested in space. And they are not cheap. So the decision to use a precision munition to blow up a selected and entrenched position is not a trivial one.
And I think I actually hear a lot about this with the Israel and
Palestine.
conflict. So they will go in to try to bomb the tunnels or wherever the Hamas
And it's
is, but
very, very tough to not hit everything else you don't want to hit.
yeah, like civilian casualties go
Yeah.
up, and it's like it's not the
There's a
obvious-
historical perspective in the Israeli-Palestine thing that goes all the way back to the early parts of the Bible. Abraham was married, and God told him his progeny would outnumber the stars in the sky. But he looked at his wife, who was old, and they thought she was sterile, too old. So his wife talked him